Welcome back to the channel and to another WNBA video. We got a two-game slate to dive into for today, Sunday, August 25th. We're going to break down and analyze each of those games. We'll talk about which way that I'm leaning as far as the points of the spread. We're also going to talk about any player props that I found for those games that I like, and then any picks that I put in officially myself. I'm going to throw down there in that pinned comment, so make sure you check back in. That way you can see if you'd like to ride along with me. And before we get into those games, man, we got to recap our picks from yesterday, what we took and how that went down. Did not go down good at all, man. Probably the worst day that I've had since making videos on YouTube, just period. An 0-5 night as far as picks. The only solace is none of those were a full unit play, so we only lose 2 units total on the night. But 0-5, man, just horrible. Just trash overall, man. Took a same game parlay for the Liberty, laying 2.5, and then the under in that game. 162.5. The under cashes. The Liberty do not pull through for us as they lose to the Sun. The Jonquel Jones over 9.5 rebounds, but a quarter unit on that one. She does not come through. Lands at 8. We took the Fever plus 5.5 at a half unit. Also took them on the money line at a half unit. That money line was plus 194, man. Kind of felt like I was getting a steal. In hindsight, looks like I fell right into a trap. The Lynx come out strong again. They are on a roll, man. They're just on a roll. And then we took Caitlin Clark over 8.5 assists, put a quarter unit on that one as well. She lands right on the hook at 8. So like I said, 0-5, man, not a good night. Not a good night at all. But, hey, man, scared money don't make money. We're going to hop right back up and get right back to it. Look, we got the Aces taking on the Sky today at noon. The Aces are laying 7.5 at this one. The over-under sitting at 166.5. So the Aces are on the road here for the second game of a 3-game homestand, and man, they are honestly just desperate for a win. They're losers of 4 of their last 5 now. They have fallen in yet another rut, which has been like the story of their season, honestly. Superb elite play for a week or two. Then they follow that up by inconsistent play on both sides of the ball, which has resulted in some pretty big slides for them in the loss column. Just look at them on the year so far. It's like we're looking at 2 different teams, right? 4-1 to start the year, followed by a 2-5 stretch. Then they get Gray back from injury. They get hot, winning 10 of their next 11 before this recent 1-4 slide. So like I've mentioned in these videos before, clearly this team has the talent. It's there, as evident by the win streaks that they put together this year and the fact that they are the 2-time defending champions. But something's off with this team, man. The ball movement isn't there for big chunks of the game. And I get it in a sense how this ends up happening. You know, like they have a lot of score-first mentality players on the team. Asia Wilson, Kelsey Plum, Jackie Young. Even Chelsea Gray at times starts to look for her shot over the, finding the open teammate. But when this unit is flowing together as such, as a unit, they're like just about as close to unstoppable as you can get. So like the lack of ball movement, the lack of rhythm on offense at this point in the season is just concerning. I don't understand it. Chicago, they've really struggled out of the Olympic break, playing their first game since the Marina Mabrey trade for Rachel Bonham and Mariah Jefferson. But against the league's best defense, the Connecticut Sun, the Sky played their best game offensively since that trade, putting 80 on that Sun team that on average only gives up 73. They went into the half down 10. They rallied in the third, outscoring the Sun 29-18 to take a 1-point lead into the fourth. But ultimately, it was like young mistakes and turnovers that did them in against this great Connecticut defense. Connecticut had that huge defensive stand at the end of the game. The Sky were within 2 points. Obviously, they lost by 2 in that one. So they're back home here for 3 straight after a 3-game road trip that saw them go just 1-2. The Sky are 11-17 straight up on the year. They're 12-16 to the number. On the road, they are 8-7 against the spread, while the Aces are 17-11 straight up, 10-18 to the number, and just 6-10 against the spread at home. These two, they've met twice already on the year. The Aces went into Chicago in late June. They beat the Sky by 12, 95-83, behind big games from Asia, Plum, and Young. Asia had over 30 in that one. Plum and Young both eclipsed 20 themselves. But then the Sky, they came into Vegas right before the break, and they beat this team by 8. They actually went up big from the start in that one. They led 25-12 after 1. And then they just rolled from there. But Mabrey was big in that game. Marina Mabrey, she had 15 points, 3 3-pointers made. She was tied for the team lead in assists and steals. And she's now obviously not with the team. She's a member of the Sun. So, I don't know, man. I like the Aces in this spot. And it's hard to get behind them with the ups and downs and the inconsistencies, but coming off those back-to-back frustrating losses to the Lynx, then in a revenge spot here against Chicago, I don't know, despite the ups and downs, when we look at the data, the talent of this team can't be denied, you know? It's like I said, through, this up and down season where at times they've looked nothing like the Aces that we've grown to know, they're still first in points per game and overall shooting percentage. They're third in three-point percentage. No one ever mentions free throws, but they are first there as well. They have the second best assist to turnover ratio. They're accumulating the second most blocks per game. They are a good team. The Aces are hitting the most shots from the paint just outside the restricted area as well, and at the highest shooting percentage overall. They're tops in mid-range shooting percentage and are shooting the three above the break at the third highest percentage. The Sky are giving up, a middle of the pack sixth highest shooting percentage for above the break threes. They're allowing the fourth lowest percentage from the mid-range, the fifth lowest from the paint outside the restricted area. They've been decent on the perimeter, allowing the third lowest shooting percentage from three, but they've given up a fourth worst 44% shooting overall from the field. The Sky are leading the W in rebounds, and the Aces only sit eighth here, but they do lead the league in defensive rebounds, the Aces. They are actually last in offensive rebounds, but when you score the ball as much as Vegas does, then it begins to make sense why there are fewer opportunities for the offensive rebounds on their side, The Sky, on the other hand, they live and eat off of the offensive glass, leading the league there, led by Angel Reese, of course. She's led the entire W in boards and offensive boards as well. This leads to the fourth most second chance points and the most points in the paint, but the Aces allow the fewest offensive rebounds, and while middle of the pack in terms of second chance points, they are giving up the third fewest points in the paint. So, all that said, give me Vegas here. Like I said, man, they match up well with Chicago, and specifically where and how Chicago looks to beat teams on the glass and in the paint. I really like looking at the Aces early here, though, because we've seen the Sky claw their way back into multiple games. They just did it against the Sun. So I am concerned with a backdoor cover here with them, with the line where it is. But if we can catch the Aces at this 3.5-ish line that I'm seeing in the first half, maybe even up to 4.5, man, I think that's the look here. I gotta think at some point the Aces come out with their foot on the pedal. I don't know, man. They got to at some point, right? And what better spot here than this Chicago team, that has already beat them right going into the Olympic break, man. There's, like I said, that revenge factor on the mind for Vegas. Back-to-back frustrating losses to the Lynx, man. I don't know what better of a spot you could be in to, want to get right going into the playoffs. So, like I said, I'm leaning Vegas here. Definitely like them in the first half. For the total, I'll lean over in this one. Both teams have landed under this mark in 3 of their 4 since returning from the Olympic break, and the Aces are averaging just under 79 in these 4 games. And while I don't think Chicago is like this elite defensive force, they can frustrate Vegas some on the perimeter and down low. Reese and Cardoso, despite their youth and inexperience, they'll make you work for yours with just their raw talent alone. Sky have averaged only 78 on the year and just under 76 in their 4 games since the break. But with all that said, in the 2 prior meetings between these two on the year, they've crushed this number both times, landing at 178. The Aces are the second highest rated offensive team playing at the fastest pace in the W. So, man, if I like them to win in this one, I can't look anywhere but over personally. Player prop I'm looking at in this one would be Camila Cardoso, her points and rebounds under 17.5. Now, if we look down here at Outlier, now guys, this is Outlier that we are looking at. Now, don't forget to check down below in that description. If you have not signed up for Outlier yet, make sure you go down there, man. We got a free link that you can click on and get a free 7-day trial. And then at the end of that trial, man, you can decide for yourself whether you'd like to stick around or not. Bet you'll want to stick around, man. There's lots of useful tools on here. And one of those that are really, really great are these insights that they throw in, man. You'll see these here and there, or not here and there, quite a bit. There's a whole section of them, right? You can come over here and click down and scroll down. Just all sorts of different little insights for each game here, right? But if we look at Camila Cardoso, her points and rebounds, she's failed to exceed this 17.5 point mark. In 4 of her last 5 at home, she's actually averaging only 14.6. So in those 5, she's hitting this under at an 80% rate. And then if we look at her in her last 10, she's hitting still at a 70% rate. And then against Vegas head-to-head, both games, she has hit under this mark. And then if we look at Vegas, overall, they are just 7th in points allowed and 10th in rebounds allowed. And our second game on the slate will be the Los Angeles Sparks taking on the Dallas Wings. The Wings are laying 4.5 in this one. We have an over/under sitting at 167.5. Sparks, they've lost 6 straight now. They're on the last game of a 4-game homestand, while the Wings come in losers of their first 3 out of the Olympic break and are back home to begin a 5-game homestand. Now, man, look, this is another scenario where the schedule making in the WNBA is just like subpar at best, man. Like, it's getting frustrating to see this time and time again. Just horribly marketed games, as we've had like 2 games yesterday that should have been both televised nationally, right? The Sun and the Liberty came in with the 2 best records in the W. Then you have a damn good Lynx team taking on the Surging Fever. These games were both on last night and like damn near at the same time, right? We got one starting at 7, and then the other at 8. So now we got to decide which one we're gonna watch. And now today we have these 2 games here on the slate that are just spaced out between noon and 4, almost too much time in between the games, right? Both nationally televised, and our game at 4 p.m. Eastern time on an early Sunday evening when most are at home and could sit down, tune in, and watch is the 6-22 Wings playing host to the 6-23 Sparks. Like, come on, man. But anyways, I'm going off on a tangent here, but it's just basically this game is not the most appealing, from a viewing or betting standpoint, honestly. Um, but we're gonna dive into it still, just like I said, off on a little tangent. My bad. This line opened up shorter. It's been bet up. The Wings are now favored by 4.5. When it opened up at a shorter line like it was, it made sense to me because both teams haven't shown much consistency throughout the year. Both teams have been marred by injuries as well. I do think Dallas might have more talent on their team, but am I comfortable laying 4.5 with them? Man, I don't know. That seems a little steep, even against the Sparks team. Um, Things are at least looking up, though, on the injury front. Like I said, both teams were marred by injuries. Things are at least looking up on that side, as the Sparks are just listing Laisha Clarendon and Ari McDonald as game time decisions, and the Wings actually come in with a clean sheet. But, these are the bottom 2 teams as far as points per game and shooting percentage, with the Wings ranking last in each. Where Dallas can hurt you, though, is on the offensive glass. They do rank second in offensive rebounds per game, with the Sparks giving up the second most. The Wings actually lead the league in second chance points, surprising as that may be, and they are third in points scored from the paint. They are hitting the third most shots from the restricted area, and they were doing so at a 64% shooting rate as well. And Dallas is also making the third most shots from the mid-range. The Sparks, they're giving up the second most makes from the mid-range at the highest shooting percentage, and the third most from inside the restricted area. They're just the middle of the pack, 7th as far as second chance points allowed, and are giving up the second most points in the paint. These 2, they make up the bottom 2 in terms of turning the ball over, though. But while the Sparks rank just 10th in last of terms of points scored off of turnovers, the Wings rank 4th. So, the Wings aren't going to blow you away offensively, but it's their defensive struggles that have led to this record. They aren't terrible on offense. Obviously, they have some aspects on that end where they do excel even. But like I said, their defense is just horrendous. They give up the most points per game. Teams shoot at the 4th highest percentage from 3 on them and the highest overall. They give up the second most offensive rebounds, the most fast break points, and points scored from the paint. They sit at dead last with a defensive rating of 109.7. These teams, they've played 3 times on the year so far, with Dallas winning the first and then the Sparks taking the last 2, but that was over an injury-riddled Dallas team who they kind of look a little differently now with Seagrass and Sabally back. So I'm gonna lean Dallas here, but it's a slight lean, man. I'm not sure that I touched this for real. If I could have caught it earlier with Dallas laying a shorter line, maybe. But that 4.5, man, I don't know. I don't see how I get behind laying 4.5 with a 6-22 Dallas Wings team. Even if they are playing a 6-23 Sparks team. Yeah, I don't know if I touched the spread, guys. But for the total, I'll look over. Both teams play horrible defense, and there should be ample opportunity to score given they both like to play at a faster pace. Sparks are sitting at 5th in that regard, and the Wings are playing at the 3rd fastest pace. So if I play anything here, it'll most likely be this over right here. So, guys, that is going to wrap it up for another episode. I hope you guys enjoyed the content today. If you found it helpful or useful in any kind of way, please do not forget to smash the like button down below and hit subscribe if you have not already. That way you do not miss out on any of the content that we are dropping daily. But guys, let's get back on the right side of things today. Let's cash out, man. I hope we have a great day. Best of luck to everybody out there. I will see you on the next video.